And welcome to this edition of One-on-One. I'm Public Information Officer Joe Pyritz with our Chairman of the Board, Steve Miller. And Steve, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe, for offering this up. I appreciate it.
Let's start getting into the topics. We've got a lot to talk about here. Let's talk about yesterday the board got together in an executive session and then finally an open session and decided on Greg Stanley as the interim manager out of 3 candidates. Talk a little bit about the choice, what Mr. Stanley brings to the position of interim county manager, and how you guys came up with the choice.
Sure. Greg clearly stood out during the interview process as to being certainly more knowledgeable of the items that are before the board on a current basis. And I think as we went through that process, that Greg demonstrated that quite well. And in all fairness, I mean, the other candidates didn't have the opportunity maybe to be up to speed quite as fast, or they didn't have the time frame to get up to speed maybe. But, you know, this is a fast-moving machine, and we need to make sure that the person that's at the helm of the county manager's position is up to speed with the things that we need him to be up, you know, current with. So anyway, Greg did a great job in the interviews, and I know that I was vocal about looking to the outside, but for the interim scenario, I felt in the best interest of the county that we would go with Greg. So I think you saw a unanimous vote. I think it's important that we demonstrate to Greg that he has the support of the board going forward for this interim position.
Interesting. Let's talk a little bit about one of the things that was really discussed in a previous board meeting was the fact that whether or not the interim could apply for the permanent position. And your decision yesterday, the board's decision yesterday was yes, the interim can.
Again, that was the majority vote. I felt like that if it was important to 3 other members to have that, it's not a deal breaker for me. In other words, I know as we go forward there will be candidates from outside the area that will apply, and there will be a lot more opportunity for the candidates, I think, to prepare themselves for the interview and really get a better handle on where the county is and able to, during the interview, be able to answer the questions maybe a little bit in more detail, because they'll have the opportunity to study up and really understand where Pinal County sits on a lot of issues.
Let me ask you now, you've had 6 months to work with Fritz Bering, and now he's leaving for the city of Scottsdale. Your impressions of Mr. Bering?
Mr. Bering is probably one of the best managers I've ever seen. I mean, I know he's a very straightforward, which is what I need as a decision-making person. I've been quoted many times of Fritz's personality is, "You'll never leave the room wondering what he thought." And it's important. It's important to staff. It's important to developers and businessmen and citizens as a whole to know where he's at with taking the county forward, or anybody in that managerial position. It's important that they understand that. And because you don't waste a lot of time going down a path that's not going to pan out or is not going to get the support of the board. And so I applaud people with strong convictions like that will help you make help you advance the ball and not take you down a path of what you might want to hear versus what you need to be told. Fritz has the ability to give you options. He can give the board options on the direction to go, and what makes him more valuable than anything is he can predict the outcome of each one of those options. So when he brings something forth to you, he's going to tell you these are the directions you can go, and this will be the effect if you go this direction. This will be the effects if you go that direction. And that is so important for an elected official to understand that when he's sitting up there and he's been given, choices, to know what the ramifications of those policies might be. it's clear that Fritz has that ability.
Now let's talk a little bit about the budget. We'll switch gears here.
Okay.
$343 million, a budget that is conservative, but yet some people will sit there and say, yeah, it's higher than last year, but that was because of the Arizona Tax Research Association. They got a bill passed saying that you have to count everything within the budget. So,
That's correct.
Yeah. Let's talk about your thoughts on the budget this year.
Well, I think we did quite well. I know that we've spent $4.3 million more than really what I asked for. I mean, I wanted everybody to hold the line, and there is that extra money that's being spent. However, it's manageable, and you know, some of it's justified, I would say. I don't know that I'd have to break down each item and tell you what I thought, but I don't have that in front of me at this time. However, I'm real confident that we'll be able to provide a level of service for the citizens of Pinal County that they're looking for. So with that money, you know, budgets are interesting, and you know, I want to tell everybody, yeah, we show a big dollar amount in the budget, but budget it doesn't have anything to do with what we spend. It allows us to spend up to a certain amount, but we can only spend what we bring in. So one of the things I got trained on in this year, in this 6 months, was when people would refer to budget capacity and base their decision for their department on the fact that they have capacity. It didn't take me long to figure out capacity means nothing. Actual revenues in the bank account is what we're looking at.
Right.
And if you want to spend, if you have a budget for $20 million, but you only bring in $16 million, you cannot spend $17 million. Right. And I just think that, you know, now that sounds pretty basic, but when people talk about budgets, I don't want to know about budgets. I want to know about how much you have in the bank and how much you're really spending.
Let's talk now about public safety, the board's priority. 63% of the budget goes into the courts, the sheriff, and the county attorney's office. But you also see public safety as one of the other priorities that are coming in the budget, which is a lot of road building.
That's true. You know, safer roads. I mean, isn't that public safety? Who's using the roads? The public. And the fact that Fritz was able to manage the monies and find money to do the work up in District 2 on the Hunt Highway, absolutely one of the better things. I mean, I'm very, very happy that we were able to go that direction and spend some money in those areas. I just think, I mean, I guess I'm probably in the minority to think that good highways and roads benefit the citizens. But I do, and I think it is important that we looked at the entire aspect of the county, and there's a lot of things we do that create a safer environment for our citizens, and it's important that we look at everything, not just one department. That's my philosophy, and it was that way when I was on the city council as well. So I don't know if I can opine on that any further, but but it's absolutely gonna absolutely make the travels on the Hunt Highway safer when we get those widenings done.
And this is a way also, you know, when they do the ADRP, which is basically a chip seal, this is a way of trying to control some of the dust. I mean, you're not going to be able to control all of the dust, but you can control some of it. And do you look at it like that as well?
Oh yeah, it certainly demonstrates a good faith effort. I mean, and that's, you know, I think I'm very outspoken about the EPA regulations and the dust monitoring of Pinal County. I frankly believe that everything from probably El Central, California to El Paso should be considered a whole separate region, because just the aridness of that region, we can never achieve what the EPA is desiring. Not only the fact that they continue to move the bar, but okay, we're going to do some chip sealing. We're going to do the APR method to reduce some of that. But I wish there was a way to measure exactly how much that decreases the amount of dust. I don't know. It would be very difficult. I know that because of the livestock industry, I'm close to those people, and that in my district, we have some feed operations. They're spending to the tune of $1 million a year for water. Isn't that one of the resources we don't want to just be wasting? So anyway, we'll do our part, and I'll continue to lobby for a more fair understanding of what the environment we live in. But that's my goal.
And you brought up something very interesting about the Livestock Association and the fact that the water is costing a lot of money. And recently we saw a decision come down, and I don't know who it was from, saying basically it's going to start hurting the ranchers and the livestock industry a little bit more, especially on water regulations.
There has been, in the ag community, there's it's called diminishing water credits, and that is a formula that's been put together by ADWR that, and I think what it was done, the reason it was put in place was to encourage the ag community to sell their water rights off to municipalities and industrial uses, good or bad. The longer you wait, the less credits you have to sell. That's the Reader's Digest version of how that works. To many it appears to be a taking, and to others it's the way we're going to manage water. So we have two camps that are dynamically opposed to each other. We'll just have to see how that pans out, because it is connected to legislation now, and then the only way it could be reversed is to change the legislation.
Is this something that's going to affect Pinal County as a whole? It
will, yeah. It's going to affect the state of Arizona as a whole. And you have to weigh what it is that's more important. There's my thoughts on it are, we need to protect the ag community somehow, some way, because I see the ag industry as our buffer to the water problem. If you're going to just fill this place up for nothing but homes, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, because I can tell that farmer he can't plant this year and he can't grow, but I cannot tell this individual they cannot flush. Right. Now that's might be a little crude, yeah, but in other words, so we need that balance. Again, you got to find the balance to make sure that we all survive. And ag is so important to Arizona. We have the infrastructure's in place now, right or wrong, but it's in place. It's a great place to grow cotton and hay. Pinal County has the largest milking herds in the state now. We have more milking head in Pinal County than any other county. So, and you've seen some of the cheese factories come to Casa Grande. Why? Because the milk is here and relatively available. You have to be able to provide hay. You have to be able to provide those resources that keep those herds alive. So and for every square mile of agriculture, you produce $500,000 of internal spending within that community. I mean, and we have a lot of square miles of ag going on. So those dollars are turning within our county, and it's important that we keep that industry alive.
Well, that sounds a lot like economic development, which you're focused in on. And also, let's talk a little bit about the resolution copper up in Superior. You went to Washington, D.C., testified on that, and that actually, surprisingly, made the land swap made it out of the House of Representatives. And I think that's got to be looking pretty good for the county, and along with one other project in your district, which is the Phoenix Smart. They say, we've got everything in place, we're going to be ready to go.
Yeah. two things there, and both of those are excellent, you know, projects for economic development for Pinal County. The copper mine, yes, it looks like it's gone through the House. It's going to have to get through the Senate. I suspect it can hang up there for a while, but our lobbyists and other politicians will try to figure a way to move it forward. And so we just keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we can get it through the Senate. On the Phoenix Mart, the visas are now being transferred out, or to the individuals that will be coming over here. I think it's through the State Department. I believe it was through the State Department that, and there was a long lag of these visas being submitted in over 2 years before they were advanced. For whatever reason, or whatever's taken place, they've got that straightened out. I think they're getting visa applications through the system now in less than 2 months. So that's really good. That's a very, very positive thing. So they're going to reach out and try and because the whole time this program came about with the Phoenix Mart, it always had a three-pronged approach, and it was a third of the investors from China, a third of the investors from America, and a third of the investors from Europe, because they do want it to be a global scenario. So they're aggressively going to go out and reach out to those types of investors. So that's good. That's all good things. And we're happy to see that we've got the Washington bureaucracy kind of smoothed out. So I think things will, yeah, for lack of a better word, we'll get that moving.
Well, that sounds good, because that's going to provide a lot of jobs to Pinal County.
It will. It will. It's very important that we get those. Those will be good jobs. Both of those will be good jobs. So, you know, and to tie back, just to go back to another topic, the transportation. Right. Transportation is huge to economic development. It is very, very big, and it's so important that we keep that infrastructure viable for economic development reasons as well. I mean,
let me ask you this. I mean, since you brought that up, the Red Rock classification yard for UP, I mean, are we looking at that anytime soon, or is this one of those things where we're just going to have to wait and see?
The last word I heard was we'll have a decision in a year, within the year, okay? Now, that might sound like a long time, but in the big scheme of things, that's palatable. UP was okay with that because there was another study, and I believe that study had to do with cost analysis of the putting in the infrastructure to provide that. UP needed to do that anyway, so that's, you know, they're willing to go forth with that portion and provide it to the state. So I think that's a good thing. Then we've stepped up to the plate. We, being Pinal County, I sent a letter to the governor, and or I'm sorry, to the state trust lands people. I think I copied the governor on it, but saying that, you know what, Pinal County will step up to the plate. We will hold the review process of the operation at its highest level. We'll make sure that the infrastructure is designed properly, and the safety for future generations for that area. The access, there was always a concern about another portion of state land that would not be accessed if the Red Rock went in there. We assured her that we would not landlock any piece of property, that everything would be, you know, reviewed under the idea that whole area will develop in the future.
Well, we've covered a lot of topics in a short amount of time. We appreciate your time here, and
we'll did a lot of stuttering. I don't know.
It's all right. Threw some curveballs at you
today. You did, but that's okay. Keep me sharp.
There you go. This is, again, One-on-One with our chairman, Steve Miller. I'm Public Information Officer Joe Pyritz. Thank you for joining us for this edition of One-on-One.